Chair Pingree, Ranking Member Joyce, and members of the subcommittee, miigwech, thank you for this opportunity to provide testimony on behalf of the National Indian Education Association. Minogigajep, Babami Benes Indigenous, Minawaki and Dunjaba, Migizi and Dudem, Anishinaabe and Dao. Good morning. My name is Babami Benes, Jason Dropik, serving as president of the National Indian Education Association, but I get the unique opportunity to also serve as head of school at the Indian Community School in Franklin, Wisconsin, right outside of Milwaukee, serving Indigenous youth and getting to see the impact of what a cultural-based education can do for students and their futures. NIEA is the most inclusive national Native organization advocating for culture-based educational opportunities for American Indians, Alaska Natives, and Native Hawaiians. Each day, our organization equips tribal leaders, educators, and advocates to prepare the over 700,000 Native students across the nation for success in the classroom and beyond. Native education is a bipartisan effort rooted in the federal trust responsibility to tribal nations and their citizens. NIE thanks the subcommittee for its ongoing commitment to fulfilling this constitutional responsibility by advancing Native education programs and services in the fiscal year 2023. In particular, we appreciate the subcommittee's oversight of Bureau of Indian Education programs and services to Native students. Since the beginning of COVID-19 pandemic, the national education landscape has shifted dramatically. The spread of COVID-19 throughout tribal communities shined a spotlight and exacerbated existing educational inequities for Native students. Tribal nations acted quickly to save lives and continue educating our youth, often without the structures, resources, and means to do so. Fully funding Native education within the Bureau of Indian Education in fiscal year 2023 is essential to ensuring that Native students have access to resources to recover and thrive after the pandemic and into their futures. Fiscal year 2023 recommendations we have. As the subcommittee considers funding levels for the coming fiscal year, NIA urges Congress to consider the full scope of need for education programs in the Department of Interior through the Bureau of Indian Education and Bureau of Indian Affairs. Congress must continue to invest in and oversee education programs central to the cultural and academic progress of Native students. Such measures are critical to ensure that Native students have access to these resources. Those resources are necessary for their survival. From competitive salaries for highly effective, culturally competent educators, through the Indian Schools Equalization Program to the infrastructure of a modern classroom to Native language and culture-based programs, federal appropriations are vital to ensuring equity for the only students to which the federal government has a direct responsibility, Native students. At this time, I would like to highlight just several of NIA's key appropriation priorities for fiscal year 2023. Bureau-funded schools must be appropriated at least $440 million for urgent school construction and repair. NIA appreciates recent steps to address immediate infrastructure, especially in light of more than 2-year pandemic. However, funding continues to fall far short of the total need. In 2016, the Office of the Inspector General at the Department of Interior found that it would cost $430 million to address immediate facility repairs in BIE. Those are immediate repairs. Our request is modest when taking into account inflation since 2016. The president's budget request for fiscal year 2023 is only $420 million, far short of what is critically needed. The Indian School Equalization Program, ISEP, should be fully funded at $500.7 million for fiscal year 2023, per the fiscal year 2023 presidential budget request. ISEP funds the core budget account for BIE elementary and secondary schools. Through this program, schools receive funding to pay teachers and other personnel salaries. While ISEP is funded at approximately $2 million per school, each public school across the country receives on average $6 million for salaries, wages, and employee benefits. Each year, schools are forced to stretch limited ISEP funds further to fulfill regulations that require educators to be paid salaries comparable to those at only the federal school system. The Department of Defense education activity. This requirement is meant to support parity in access. However, federal appropriations have failed to account for increases in competitive salaries at DODEA, and in states where BIE schools are located, increased investment is required to ensure access to highly qualified, culturally competent educators at all schools. When funding is cut in other areas of the BIE budget, ISEP funds are often used to make up the difference. A flood, broken heater, or leaky roof can force a BIE school to lay off a special education teacher, a student counselor, or school security officer halfway through the school year. Congress must ensure that ISEP is allocated adequate funding to fulfill all program needs. In conclusion, healthy education systems are vital to thriving tribal nations and communities. Though tribal leaders and legislators juggle several priorities, education cannot be forgotten. Appropriations have the potential to promote equity and ensure access to excellent education options, which prepare Native students to thrive in the classroom and beyond. NIA urges Congress to uphold the federal trust responsibility for all Native students by fully funding critical programs that support effective and culturally appropriate Native education. Our students, including the students in Bureau-funded schools, deserve nothing less. Miigwech, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Next, we'll hear from Mr. William Smith, the president of the National Indian Health Board. Thank you so much for being with us today.